musicians managing with touring, writing, holding down day jobs. Do you want to elaborate about this topic?
Yes, I think, to be honest, you've summed it up pretty well, but it's how we play in bands or write in bands or whatever, involved in a band in one way or another, playing your instrument, having a good time and doing a day job. It's all about that balance that I think most of us can relate to, or all of us can relate to in one way or another. Even if your job is in the industry, you've still got to juggle it. I think it's how you go about that. How do you get that balance? And is it something that is a struggle, or you found the balance, or what? It's a bit of an open-ended question, but have I elaborated enough, though?
Yeah, that sounds a good start. So, because I mean, one of the things I would suppose is the biggest challenge is nowadays with bands, now that you don't really earn any money from music, because you have to give it away for free on Spotify. And you still got to do the music videos, and they cost you money, and then you got to go on tour, and you got to try and get people out to watch you, and then you got all the expenses still. So it's become a very expensive thing that you don't get as much return. So you're finding more and more professional musicians are having to effectively do the day job as well, like a normal job the rest of the time, and then they're not touring, and obviously cost the rehearsal. So for the guys here, I guess specifically like you guys, so Gene, Nick, Mike, and Richard, this is probably a bit more pertinent than it is probably for me, Andy, and Kirk. But so how do you manage it? So I'm gonna throw it straight back to Nick for this one, because obviously with Cage Fight and you were
and
also,
also,
the best.
So we've got G and I's band Raise the Devil, which was the Best Medicine. Now recently Raise the Devil. Obviously Cage Fight's quite busy. Either being I've just got back from Holland, or Netherlands, so I should say. Even though I found out that it is technically Holland. Did you know about this? Does anyone know about why it suddenly went from Holland to Netherlands? Does anyone know?
I bet Kirk does.
No, you told. I've had a conversation with someone when I was drunk, and apparently I was wrong calling it Holland. But okay.
Well, yeah. Well, so because when I was growing up, it was always called Holland. Like the football team was Holland. It was always called Holland. And then suddenly, no, it's Netherlands. And the north of Netherlands is Holland. Amsterdam, Rotterdam is Holland. I drove past a sign that said "Welcome to Holland." That's because it's basically like calling England Yorkshire. It's basically what. And the Dutch went, no, hang on a minute. No, we're actually called the Netherlands. It's the whole thing is the Netherlands, and the north of it is the Holland.
Maybe she's upset. Dutch, aren't they?
Are they?
No.
I thought it was going to be a story then. But yeah, where I was going with this question is, I think it's just a discussion really for those that trying to hold down a job whilst in doing what you enjoy in music. Because as we know, being in a band, you're not just—it's a lot of work, isn't it? Right?
Oh yeah.
Let's be honest, it's a lot of work. Not just playing, but it's a lot of it's admin.
Yeah.
A lot of it's the stuff behind the scenes.
And the in-between stuff is the most time-consuming element, really.
100%. And you've got
that half an hour to 45 minutes playing on stage is like, this is what it's all about. Yeah. But the in-between stuff is like, I'm literally grafting so hard and putting so many hours into this. It's like
100%. And also you've got 3 or 4 other band members to pin down to try and align diaries with, and they may be local, they might be further afield. How do you pin those people down to get rehearsals in, to get gigs under your belt, to just make sure you're all singing from the same hymn sheet, you're all kind of aligned with your kind of drive and what you're trying to achieve? It is bloody hard work. Mm-hmm. And obviously I've been in and out of bands for years, and when I was younger, that was really difficult, because I think you're still kind of building on those skills, those organizational skills and communication skills and everything else. And I think now I've found like that kind of found my stride with it and got that balance right with having quite a at times stressful day job and challenging day job, which I enjoy, and then the my muggle job, the normal job, and then in the night time I scuttle away into the darkness.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, it's just interesting to kind of hear other people's opinions on how that works for you, and maybe struggles you've had before, and how it feels right now or in the future, or what. It's a bit of a open-ended question.
Richard, do you want to jump in on that one, because you've got multiple band experiences to talk about, I guess?
Can you just tell our viewers which band you're in as well?
Yeah, so we're playing.
We haven't got that long to go.
We haven't got that long to go through the list. At the moment, it's Dead Flesh, Praetorian, Lowen, and Dreadbeggar. Those are and then I've got like a studio thing that I do at home, which is Somber. But I don't really count that as like a live act. But so it's the 4 like live bands that I do at the moment. Yeah. But man, yeah, busy. Most of the time, or I tend to find that it goes from kind of 1 month or 1 week it'll be like I'll have something on like almost every day, and then another month I'll have like nothing on at all. Like the next coming few weeks I haven't really got much on going on at all. So it kind of really varies depending on what we're doing. But yeah, trying to keep up with it all is and do like work full time is a bloody struggle. Can say that much. But I think I don't probably spend enough time doing like the admin stuff for each of the projects, especially the ones that I do myself. Whereas I probably should. But yeah, it's basically another full-time job, like being in a band, really, if you want to do it properly.
That's what I was getting at, because we do it because we love it, right?
Yeah,
we love it, and at the end of the day, sometimes it's pain. But in the grand scheme of things, it's something that we enjoy. We're passionate about it, and I think if that wasn't there, my life would be totally different. It wouldn't be as enjoyable as it is, and it's like that because other people say to me, "How do you do it? How do you do it?" And I don't have an answer for them. It just happens. Like I say, I think it's just years of doing it, and you find this kind of way of doing it. And I think there's no answer to that. It's just an interesting point. How do we do it?
May I interject in front of everyone?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
I think that is it though. Like if you're that passionate about something, you can find a way to get it done. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you love doing it. Like you can always
call it a hobby, or whether you think it's another kind of job on the side. Now, I know a lot of bands don't really make money off it, but as far as hobby goes, it's very time consuming. And if you booked a gig, you know, you've got to be there. You can't go, I'm just going to fuck that off for the day. A little story, I don't know if you guys know, I used to be a plumber, like for a couple of years. A terrible plumber. But I was doing a job like
you got business
2 hours drive. Terrible. And, like, the first ever immersion heat that I had to do, it was basically pissing water all over the top floor, and I had a gig. And I was saying to my boss, I need to go and play this gig. I'm not going to make it. And that was the point. He said to me, "You're not right for this job if you've got to leave a leak to go and do a show." So kind of on what Nick was saying, you kind of have to find a job that's flexible enough where you can do your band stuff and you can make sure you can get away from your job, especially if you're going abroad, especially if you're, got to be at sound check at 6 o'clock in the evening. It's the balance, and if you love your hobby or your job enough, then you'll make your job work for that.
Yeah, and it can be a real struggle for people that, and I think I feel blessed to be in a position where I have that flexibility on the job side. Not always, but sometimes. And it's always about that forward planning, isn't it? And if you're good at organising stuff, you can look into a month, 2 months, 6 months in the future and go, I'm probably going to have to leave work. I've got that festival. I'm on stage at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a 2-hour drive away, or it's a 6-hour drive away, or it's a flight away or something. It's like how you work back to go, well, I need to take that time off there. I need to leave work at that time. It's all about that forward planning. And I think that I'm as I say, I'm blessed to be in a position where I can be flexible. But I think when I was younger, this was stuff I wasn't good at. So you'd end up double booking a gig with another band, or you can't get off work, and it all goes absolutely, peaked on.
It's essentially another talent you have to build on.
Yeah.
Balancing your work career with your hobby, with your band.
Yeah.
No one else here is plumbers, are they?
No. I'd have my own house.
Is that leak still happening, or should we go fix it? Is someone drowning somewhere?
I believe the house has been demolished now.
Well, I just want to build on that last one that you guys were talking about. So we've talked about obviously the job, trying to balance that out and making sure it's the right career. Now, obviously, you've got your rehearsals, you've got writing, you've got your gigging, you've got your logistics of trying to plan that in with your job. But how about for you guys? How's it worked as far as managing your personal relationships at the same time? Because this is a huge thing. I find it as well from doing the band, doing the A.D.K channel, doing the videography work when I'm doing video shoots, and also doing a full-time job and being married. we talked a lot about the job and the career and the thing. We haven't talked about the wives and the partners and what the impact is on that.
Yeah, I was going to say that I proposed at Christmas and she said yes, and she knows exactly what I do. So
start the band before you get married.
I've had conversations with partners before, and they've said like, you are not going to join another band. Yeah. And I've just been like, ooh, what if I really want to join another band? You know, like.
And you said you are not my partner.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, shit.
But no, it is true. You do need to have people around you who are like understanding the amount of time you're going to put into something. Really.
And bloody good at spinning plates as well. I think if you've got that kind of skill set to be able to spin those plates with personal life or friends or whatever. I think a lot of my friends now are in the bands I'm in because the rest of them got fed up with me.
It's very stressful. It's stressful and it shows. He's 21.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Andy, for yourself, obviously with Nomadic Rain as well, and now you're obviously doing the A.D.K stuff as well. So how do you manage that with your partner?
Yeah, she's very understanding. I mean, I was going to say, I wish I was in Richard's predicament, as in having so much to do. You have to spin plates. I wish I was busy on the band front, but I've got a lot going on in addition to Nomadic Rain. You know, I'm involved in football clubs. I've got children and stepchildren and all the things we do on the channel. But yeah, Leslie's really understanding regarding, you know, going to gigs, going to practice, going to rehearsals, going to writing sessions. But it is the balance, isn't it? And as Nick said, it's forward planning, bit of compromise at times, and just, you know, it's a skill. It's a skill you need to bring into the situation as well. You know, organising your time, good time management.
Yeah, that's it. And don't rush it either. So I think what happens, I've seen happen to people is they rush a situation. They've got to do this. They sacrifice the job to do this. They come back to no job, for example. So let's say they've got this awesome gig, once a lifetime opportunity, and then they come back and they've got to start again. It's all about getting that balance right of making sure that you're working and living within those parameters. And you can push the envelope at times. But you've got to make sure that balance is right. So your normal life and your band life, you know, are working in harmony with each other. But if you have a tour come up that's with like your favorite band and you go on tour for 6 months, then that's slightly different. You know, you only live once. Yeah. You know what I mean? But again, it's easy for me to say that. I don't have kids. If, like Andy, you were saying you've got those responsibilities, I don't. So my opinion would probably change if that was a situation. But right now, if something came up, I wouldn't necessarily sacrifice, you know, my work for that at all, unless it was something absolutely biblically insanely good. Because in my head, is that worth it? Would I be coming back to a whole load of shit? You know what I mean?
Adding on that, I'm always aware of bands that have that are notorious for cancelling gigs, which is a real bugbear of mine. I think if you book the gig, you do the gig.
Yeah.
And I know lots of promoters will agree with me. This is to everyone. You book the gig, you do the gig.
Well, unless it's a really good reason, but I think.
Well, yeah, that's in the family.
What you're getting at is if someone, which I think you've had recently, which I've had before, is someone's got a work problem that's come up, and that's where, everyone's got something that.
No, do the gig.
The league will fix itself. Don't worry.
Yeah, leave it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just about, as I say, it's about not jumping on opportunities unless everyone can definitely do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you let down everyone, and then your band name will end up being slightly dragged through that mud, even if it's not your fault as a person. It might be someone else's. You know what I mean?
A lot of promoters talk to each other. If you've been cancelling gigs, you will get a bad reputation, and people will stop booking you.
Yeah, it's a one-off, and these things happen, isn't it?
No, of course.
But yeah, if it's like a serial canceller.
I disagree.
Yeah, it seems like there's a fine balance between pissing everyone off, really. Like, you don't want to piss your family off, you don't want to piss your partner off, you don't want to piss your friends off, and you don't want to piss your bands off and promoters off. So just spinning those plays, that's what it's all about.
In cage fight,
whilst you're walking a tightrope at the same time.
Yeah, literally.
In cage fight, it'll be, you know, the chat is a constant. I'm sure all the band chats, it's just constant flow of stuff. Whether it be talking about merchandise, gigs, festivals, or whatever it may be. If something comes up that one of us can't do, it's either in the diary that one of us is busy on that day, or if it hasn't been added, we'll all check. And it's not a problem, you know. If someone says I can't do it, it's like, yeah, no worries. Move on to the next one. It's not a, why can't you do it? No, you've got to do this gig. And it's that kind of like mentality in this band that I absolutely love, is that we've all had that understanding that we've all got these responsibilities that we have outside of music, and we've all got to be happy going into a show, and no one's got to feel like they're doing something which is they've had to cancel something important to do the gig, you know, that kind of thing. Everyone's got to be happy with it, and everyone's got to be in agreement that it's the right decision to make. There's not that pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
When we spoke before to Richard,
can I just come in on a philosophical angle on this? As the
No. Is it about old method?
It's definitely not about that. So I'm interested because you five are all artists, you're all playing bands, and I suppose one question you will ask yourself is, what career opportunities have you had to forfeit to pursue something that you love that is never going to make you money? Because let's quote the singer from Black Crown Initiative, James Dawson, who said, "Death metal does not pay the bills." Now, other than Metallica and Iron Maiden and AC/DC and a handful of bands from heavy guitar music who are as rich as anyone, even in the 90s when CD sales defined a band and major labels signed artists looking at how many units they could shift, we're beyond that era now, aren't we? So clearly you're doing something because you want some kind of recognition, and that's not a bad thing, right? You write music, you perform art because you need to do it. And you could not be a heart surgeon and be in a grindcore band, or you could not be a barrister and be in a band that's on a major label. You just could not mix those things. So you've had to give up opportunities. But the way you look at the world is different to somebody who defines himself from the socioeconomic status that comes with a high salary and being part of the establishment, and someone who's likely to get a peerage who might go into politics. You're not doing that, are you? You feel the need to express yourself, and you're not even writing mainstream music, any of you. So
we've all dropped out of life.
The point is here. Do you ever
there is a question.
Do you ever look at it like that? What opportunities have you had to forego to continue while you're doing it, and why do you do it? You've got to ask, why do I do this?
That's the longest way of getting to that question.
I really like the long words.
I'm gonna ruin what you've said, Kirk, and say that I haven't turned down any career opportunities because of music. I've somehow managed to make it work alongside, and I don't know how I have, but I have. And so I work in education. I manage a college basically, so it's quite a pressuring job, but I absolutely love it. But I've just found the balance right. So I've never turned down any career prospects because of music. I've just made music work around the career. And being a drummer, it's I help out with a lot of stuff behind the scenes. But if you've got a well-oiled machine as a band, if you're on a label like Cage Fight and Candlelight Spine Farm, you've got all that stuff going on behind. You've got a bit of a machine behind you. The merch is churning over. As long as we're keeping our eye on the ball, and the band becomes self-sufficient, then it's an absolute winner.
Well, I think you and I are quite fortunate with that, really. That your work is understanding of your next life, your alternative.
Yeah.
Not everyone is fortunate.
No, that's what I said earlier.
For them.
I said I'm blessed to be in that position, but yeah.
It's a good viewpoint that Kirk's brought up, to be honest. But I think that, it could be dangerous to go down that thought process, because I don't know, it's better to not have any sort of regrets of like, oh, I could have been doing this, could have been doing that. It's all about what makes me tick, what makes me happy, what makes me feel alive in what I'm doing. And ultimately that is playing the music that we're playing. So it's,
And
the things you don't do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The things that you could have done that you should have done. And I think that's what stresses us out the most. But as long as you made that calculated decision to not do it for a particular reason, then it shouldn't stress you out. And if you've taken that opportunity and gone for it, then happy days. But yeah, I think it's because, band stuff is a nighttime activity most of the time, isn't it? It only leaks into the afternoon when you've got to get to Loading at 5 somewhere, or you go in the evening. You're on touring, you booked that time off. It wasn't a surprise tour, it was planned in a surprise. It was planned in advance to a point. So you've managed to work your life around that tour, and you've booked things off in accordance with the times that you need to be on the tour for. So as long as you're all right at that, you can balance it.
I think I always seem to have kind of the vague hope that maybe one of the bands will like take off and become one of those next big bands that will be completely self-sufficient and make loads of money and not have to worry about a day job. But I think lots of people have that kind of vague hope in mind with all of the bands that they do. I know I do. But however,
if you're on tour all the time. So let's say if you're an American band, you just tour the States constantly. Like for example, Black Dahlia Murder, they're on the road for months, and they had a salary. They paid themselves a salary from it.
Yeah.
One way of doing it, But if you're doing it in fits and starts, it's you can make the band self-sufficient from that, but you still got to have something to fall back on and enjoy your life and be able to go to a hole in the wall and get some money out in between the gigs.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have one last question in relation to this, which I thought I'd ask, because it's like whenever you start a new job and you start a new band, etc. That first 6-month period, you've got that adrenaline rush. You've got, this is exciting. We're writing new material. You're planning for the future. But then after about 6 months, things can start to happen. 6 months to a year, and you don't mind putting things on hold, or you don't mind trying to make adjustments in your life for this new band. But after a while, that starts to grate on you, or that can start to grate on you. So how do you get 6 months, a year down the line? Do you keep that motivation or keep yourself to keep that band going? Because when you're spinning plates, at some point your fatigue kicks in, and you go, "I want a break from this. Is it worth still doing this band?"
Are you talking about once the honeymoon period's over?
Yeah, the honeymoon's over. You have to then make a decision: is this band worth staying in?
It's if you've got a plan, if you've got it's like the band version of a business plan, isn't it? What's the plan moving forward? If you're just doing it ad hoc day to day, then that could happen. If you've actually got a plan, you've got a cycle, you've got an album, you're going to studio on this date, you're writing for this album, you're gigging these dates, and as long as you've got that really good kind of team mentality in the band where you respect each other, you work together, and I think that's the perfect recipe for success, really, within whatever parameters you set yourself as that success, whether it be massive or small, as long as it's you're working with those.
Can I add on that? When
no, you can't. Go on.
When I joined Best Medicine, Will came round and he basically told me about this 3-year plan that they had. This is going to go on, then we're going to do this, and it's going to have this kind of theme. And I was amazed. I've never been in a band like that before, where they've actually got the next 3 years structured, where everything's going to fall in place. I mean, whether it happens or not is obviously in the hands of fate. But I really like the fact that, okay, so I know in a year's time, we plan to have these singles out. We plan to have this lined up. And that gave me a bit of a safety blanket to go, right, I know which direction we're going in. And I thought that was really valuable. I think I would urge other bands to do a similar thing.
Yeah.
See where you're going to be in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, 3-year, 5-year plan.
And work towards it. Give yourself some... what's the word? Structure.
Yeah.
Structure and focus as well, So you're working towards one common goal and you know what you're doing.
So. Yeah.
Very good. Right, I think we can move on to a new topic. That's been about 45 minutes on that topic. Hey!
Well done, Nick.
Alternative metal. What do we
hate it?
What do you think about alternative
Let's go back to alternative metal. I want to talk some more about that.
Okay.